You've heard about computers. You've seen other people using them. Well, now it's your turn. Millions of people around this country and the world are successfully using computers on a daily basis. The computer that once was operated only by the specifically trained for special tasks has become simply a tool, and many people are now comfortable with it. The computer has changed the way we learn, the games we play, and how we do our jobs. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn how easily it will change the way you do business. Everywhere, the computer is improving the quality of work and the level of professionalism in today's modern office. In accounting, in bookkeeping, in the mailroom, and the executive suite. The computer is speeding paper flow, increasing communications, and keeping meticulously accurate records, no matter how large or small the business. 20 to 30 years ago, the computer was a massive giant needing rooms of equipment and special technicians. With each new technological advance, it got smaller, more sophisticated, and ironically enough, easier to use for a large number of non-technicians, like you. What caused the difference? Another example of smaller is better, the microchip. It sits easily on the petals of a daisy, yet it is responsible for the depth, breadth, and the far-reaching implications of the computer revolution. What the chip and the microcomputer can do for you is up to you. This chip and many like it are inside every microcomputer. They're what make it work. You'll be working with the basic components of the system. The keyboard attached to the display screen, the disk drive on the right, and the printer. These are called the hardware. The software is a set of instructions that tell the computer what to do. Let's use a cooking analogy. Say you wanted to make a special orange drink. You start with the recipe. Take the ingredients from the cupboard and mix them together in your blender. If you follow the instructions, you always end up with the same result. It's the same with a computer. Think of the recipe card as a diskette that contains the computer program, the software. Think of the cupboard as a disk drive, the computer's storage system. It holds the programs and data you'll want to use. When you place a diskette into the disk drive, the program and information can be transferred to the computer's memory, and you get the results you want. And depending on which recipe card or program you use, the computer can help you become a specialist in accounting, financial analysis, communications, word processing, and hundreds of other areas. Computers now come pre-programmed, pre-packaged, and they understand plain English. There are places that will both sell you a computer and train you to use it. We found such a place in an ironic spot. Tucked beneath an old-fashioned printing house that looks like something out of Charles Dickens is a high-tech, state-of-the-art computer store. Susan Bowman, the manager, explains how her operation works.
Usually out of this office, the type of client that walks in is the type who owns his own business or works for a major corporation, executives, chairman of the board, chief financial officers. Usually board members will come in and talk to us about what we can do for their corporation. Many places that you go into have very technically skilled people who are used to dealing with a hobbyist market, people who want to get into the equipment, tinker with it, pull it apart, put it together, and push it to its limits. This office is really very different. The people that I employ, most of them don't even know how to program. Most of them, the day that I employed them, didn't know anything about a computer at all.
We're here tonight to talk about word processing and to...
Instructor Ramon Zamora is explaining the beginning basics of word processing to business people who don't know anything about it either, yet.
Actually use the computer to learn how to word process.
A word processing program turns your microcomputer into your personal writing assistant, one that helps you handle your correspondence quickly and accurately. Your productivity increases. You get more writing done. As your skills continue to multiply, you find that you can write more and more. The word processor helps you deal effectively with today's growing volume of business communications.
And so when you type information onto that keyboard, it will be stored inside there, in the chips. I brought along with me tonight a chip. Some of you may not have seen one. This is what they look like. If you opened up at the computer, you'd find a lot of these inside. And some of you may have heard of 48K or 64K of memory. But what that means is that there's 64,000 or 48,000 characters of memory inside a computer, where each character represents one letter or one number that you type in at the keyboard. That's one place the information goes. The second place that you'll see it go is up on the screen. A third place that it can go is onto one of the diskettes, onto one of the floppy diskettes that are out there. And that's where it actually can be saved. Just to give you a sense of what this thing is, I've split it open so that you can get a feeling for it. It is like a little record, like a little 5 1/4 inch record. And it spins in there. Actually slides around on the material that's inside of here and spins very rapidly. And while it's spinning, there's a read head, and it picks up the information off of the disk. When you ask the word processing system to print it, it will go onto the paper that's in the printers that are with each of the computers. And so you can type something in, see it on the screen, save it on the diskette, or print it out on the hard copy or on the paper itself.
What happens when if you should by accident unplug, you know, if you end up unplugging the machine the computer while it's still on, what happens to the information?
The two places that the information stays forever, or nearly forever, is when you put it on the diskette, you can get it back tomorrow. If you print it out, you can get that back tomorrow. You can read it tomorrow. If we turn the computer off, the information will disappear from these two places. One of the most common difficulties that people have when they first start using a word processor is that they type a lot of information and then they don't get it saved properly. They either inadvertently turn the machine off, somebody else turns the machine off, they put their disk in wrong, a variety of things can happen, and you do lose your information. It's very common the first couple of times you use a word processor.
You have to tell the diskette, or somehow you have to communicate to the diskette that you want to save that material. It isn't automatically saved?
No. In fact, you have to tell it to save by pressing the S key. Every, so often, I just push yes and save the information. Just lay it out there, right?
You can transfer the material, save it onto a disk or onto hard copy. Is there any way to transfer it to another computer screen, like, say, to another department in some companies?
If you have the same computer, you can send a copy of your disk, or you can send a copy of the information over a phone line or over the electronic networks. One thing I think about when I'm thinking about word processing is like, it really is no more than a cut and paste machine. I mean, if you do typing on the typewriter and you put the information on several sheets of paper, then you have to later rearrange that information. And you cut your paper up and you glue it back together again, in different order. The computer will let you do that relatively effortlessly.
Recently, I was able to get a hold of a borrowed word processor, and suddenly things started to happen very quickly. I'm creating educational material. I'm writing television scripts. And I find that having it in the final form now, instead of a bunch of hen scratching and clipping and pasting like I was doing before, I'm really able to make a final thing there that's real, that I work from when I do television production.
That's it. It gives you the capability of always producing a final document, no matter what stage you're in.
Ooh, it might be seductive.
Right. Right. That's part of the feeling that I'm sure he gets.
Something magic happens.
I like to, when I have a manuscript, I like to hold it in my hands and go over it with a pencil in the old-fashioned way. And so I'm wondering whether you can do that with this.
I think he can answer that one for you.
I just mark it with a red pen, put it down, tap it in, save it, then print it out again.
It sounds like it could be wonderful, as long as it could also be comfortable. Where you could actually hold the piece of the paper in your hand and scribble around and stuff like that.
I'm an executive assistant. I've worked for lawyers for the past couple of years, and if there's one group of people that do more revising than any other, it's got to be lawyers. So certainly a word processor would be wonderful. I can't tell you how many times I've had to retype 10 pages at a time, because of, you know, heavy revisions in a legal document. And a word processor, if I didn't have to retype all the things that were basically okay, it would sure save a lot of time.
You never have to retype anything. You only have to change it once you put it into a word processor, because you've typed it here and it's stored here. And if someone gives you a correction or a change, you can make that change and store it again.
When you sit down to use the computer for the first time, you'll find it's as easy to use as a typewriter. To enter information, you just type a letter, a document, or as in this case, paragraphs from your novel.
It's from your book.
Yes, it is.
When you want to make changes, you just type them in over what you've already done. It couldn't be easier.
There's a paragraph.
A lot of people come in and ask the questions, and they don't know where to start, and they somehow don't realize how easy it is.
Yeah, that's right. A person doesn't need to know a lot of jargon in order to use a microcomputer. They can get by with just learning a very few terms.
A lot of people sat out there quite a few years ago and made up some very funny words. Floppy disks are called floppy because they're literally flop. I mean, there's nothing mystical about any of it.
I'd like to stick in a word there, the word beautiful.
Okay, put your cursor right where you want to type. If you hold it down, it'll repeat automatically.
Okay, now there's where I want it.
Now just type your word.
Okay.
And it shoves everything out of the way. See what it's doing?
How do I get rid of the cursor?
Go down. Just push it out of the way.
Now it works.
And a lot of times people are afraid of a computer because they don't understand it. So what they've done is they've made this about as easy to use as you can. And it's what they call menu-driven. A menu is just like in a restaurant. This is it. What do you want to do with it? Choose it. It will do it.
All of the software that a professional would sell, as we sell to executives, asks you questions. The computer takes what you do very naturally by reading from a menu, you know, like we would in a restaurant. You say, okay, I want to go do this. And then the computer program interprets that for you into digits, which it works with.
Just get an automatic return to the next line.
That's it.
Okay,
it's called
good.
power typing.
Huh. I thought that meant that I could type faster.
Well, you actually can, because you don't have to pay attention to errors. You see how we've chosen the length of the line to be, in this case, about 60 characters. So if we wanted to change the left and the right margins, squish it down to maybe 30, which is essentially what you do on a monthly newsletter. We would change the formatting.
Easy, yeah. What if I wanted to switch it all around?
You're right here.
Okay.
Hold the control
Uh-huh.
and use your left arrow. Just pick it all up. You keep going. You want to go way to the end of the whole thing. You want to pick up.
Oh, just
Okay.
goes by
One more.
itself, doesn't it?
Okay, right there.
Okay.
Now, okay, go right over there by usually.
Huh.
Okay. Now, you used control left arrow to
Okay.
pick up. You use control right arrow to put down.
Oh, I see.
Hold your control button.
Uh-huh.
It's a very smart computer.
Oh,
Isn't
look
that
at that. Wow. It remembers.
Smart.
Well, it is amazing, you know, because actually it is amazing, because it went,
Just shoved it out of the way.
yeah, it shoved it all the way down here. Nice.
It's like turning the ignition on in your car. Electronically, that happens. Doesn't matter to you why it happens. It happens. You turn the key, it reacts. Same thing happens with the computer.
This particular word processing package has a function called pointer. We're going to move the cursor, press a P for pointer, number 1. Good. Now move the cursor down to the end of that paragraph, and we'll assign that pointer number 2. Okay, so let's now move the cursor down to the point where we want to insert the paragraph and go into the move command. We're going to move from point 1 to point 2 and return. Great. We've moved our paragraph.
When I ask for a hard copy, if I have those pointers still in it, are those pointers going to show up on my hard copy?
Now, those are transparent. That's why they're put in like a lower video level.
I
It
see.
signifies that they wouldn't actually be on there. Neither will these little carrots, which signify end of paragraphs.
I see.
that little flag doesn't show on the printer. It's just there to tell you that you hit the return key.
Exactly. It's just a place marker to let you know that you have a return at that point in the file.
Why don't you try printing that out?
Okay, how do I do it?
Now, just the letter P is just going to type a letter P, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do something at a higher level, what you want to do is hold the control button first.
Mm-hmm.
Hold that down and tap the letter P for print. Now what you do is you look over there and say, is the paper all set? Yeah, it's all set. And then what you want to do is tell it, now print. It's very polite. It'll take abbreviations. You type NP, now print.
Now with my control button on?
No, just regular.
Okay. NP.
And return. It's polite. It's waiting.
Return. Ah, it goes backwards.
Okay, just like a typewriter, turn the knob.
And then how do I tear it out? Do I wait till it gets to perforation? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Oops.
Looks a little different, huh?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I must say, it's beautiful.
Some people are intimidated by a computer when they first try and use it. They think they have to learn a language in order to use the computer.
There's not a separate language. There is for the hobbyist, there is for the programmer, but not for the executives that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's not necessary to know what system the computer is operating under. It's transparent to you as a user, and it should be.
The most important thing is not learning to program, but finding the application package that does the job you want.
One major application is accounting, where software can help you manage the difficult task of juggling your business transactions. Tax accounting and the preparation of monthly bookkeeping reports are quickly done with a microcomputer. Detailed reporting on the progress of your business, your revenue situation, and what return you're making on your investments are easily juggled within the computer. When you want financial planning, there's a program for that, too. Planning is like planting seeds for future growth. As plans mature, you can check your growth, correct future estimates, and draw your plans concisely. Financial planning software lets you create forecasts that once took days or months in minutes.
Perform that kind of activity.
This is a more advanced class. These executives have had some hands-on experience with microcomputers and are now getting their first exposure to financial planning software that will help them plan, budget, and forecast more efficiently.
That's all it does. This product is more, these sets of products are better used to do forecasts or budgets or projections or any kind of financial planning that you might do that requires a spread of information across the sheet, numbers of months, numbers of pieces of information. Some of you may be familiar with these old, accounting book, ledger book, where you have to enter everything into the ledger in columns, and it brings back the images of the old quill pen. And many of you who are financial planners or financial analysts or people who just simply do budgets may be familiar with the green sheets, the huge green pieces of paper that you fill out and they spread over your entire desk. Well, what we're talking about tonight is an electronic version of this particular kind of sheet. You can think of the sheet extending out this far out in that direction to 64 columns and then down below the blackboard down into the floor for 255 rows. So that's the size of the sheet that you'll be working with tonight.
In my business, we're concerned with monthly reports. We have totals for January or February. When we come to the next month, do we have to re-enter that information, or is the way it will carry through? How does that work?
You can take a sheet and, like you say, create information on it, such as a monthly total, and then the next month have that information flow from the previous month's sheet into the current month's sheet. Any other questions?
What if you have a long formula and you decide that there's an error, you'd like to revise it? Do you have to start over?
No, you can edit the formulas. You don't have to retype them. That's one of the beauties of the financial packages.
To do that, you type the W command for window.
When you're doing forecasting and you want to see the whole year on one page, you simply split the screen.
We're going to now split the screen, so type an S. Port H for horizontally.
Return.
Return. what's happened is we now have two windows, window number 1 on top and window number 2 on the bottom.
Yes, I'm in the insurance business. And the thing that I've found particularly impressive about my computer is the fact that it will help me project renewals. And we can use different percentages as to our persistency. And it gives me a very good handle on where we're going for my clients and where we would like to go.
Has the computer changed the way you do business?
I can only tell you that it has made a difference in my time, has shortened the amount of time that I am involved in these actual mechanics. But I think one of the overall advantages is the professionalism in the image that comes across to my clients, that there's a computer involved, it's a third party, and it's become a more professional projection of my work.
I'm a stockbroker with a major brokerage firm. I use my computer both to compute all my portfolios, keep on top of them, massaging tremendous numbers of figures and data and information, and coming out with that end result, that one-end figure.
What did you do before you had a computer?
Long hours, lots of spreadsheets, and a very sharp pencil.
Do I have to do a dollar sign?
No, just to type the numbers and return. That's the sales figure changed as well as the costs and profits.
Paul, what if I did 2000.00? Would that mess me up?
Go ahead. So you notice expenses throughout the model have changed as well as profits and percentages.
I'm an information systems manager, so I use the computer for electronic mail, for what do you call VisiCalc, electronic spreadsheets, and for word processing. Rather than dictating now, I keyboard my correspondence.
Are you still using large computers?
We have larger computers, and I've been around larger computers for many years. But this is the growing field, is in the use of micros.
What do you think the office of the future will be like?
I think we'll all have a keyboard and a tube, and that our secretaries will be able to access the same files, so that we won't be handing secretaries written or typed work to be retyped. I think that it'll be done based on our own keyboarding and maybe edited by them and gone outside the company. But we're finding that, for instance, with consulting firms that we work with, that they give us the phone number of their electronic mail system, and we communicate with them using our micro, talking to their own electronic mail system.
No more paper.
No more paper. Paper is expensive. It's labor intensive, too.
The computer may help us eliminate paper altogether by giving us telecommunication, nationally and internationally, via telephone wires and satellites. We'll be teleconferencing thousands of miles apart without having to travel around the globe.
In the future, you're going to take your office with you. It's going to be a size that you'll have all the power and all the capability of today's microcomputer, but in something that you can carry around with you to wherever you want to work. Probably the most dramatic thing will be the elimination of the keyboard. This means the use of one of those devices called a mouse, where you run it around on your desk and it points for you on the screen. Touch screen, the ability to touch what you want on the screen and get it to happen. Voice control of computer, the ability to direct the actions of the computer with your own voice rather than having to sit at the keyboard like people are doing right now. As more and more people start using microcomputers, you're going to find that the software will be the controlling element, the thing that makes the difference in terms of what people do with computers.
So now that sophisticated software allows the computer to communicate in English rather than our having to learn a whole new special language, there's no reason why everyone can't learn. With the computer, you don't have to be a mathematician or a budget expert. You don't have to be a communications specialist or systems analyst to make the computer work for you. The technology is here. And now, it's your turn.
Essentially, I see the microcomputers speeding up the efficiency of any given person, and to the point where if you don't have one, you're left behind.
That's why we got the computers. A lot of the jobs are now
asking for people who have computer experience, either to use the machine for word processing or to do the accounting clerk job.
It is important. It's very important. And the people our age or younger who are entering the business place will have to learn.